role. Um, so I think the main purpose today is just to make sure that we're all comfortable together with handshake. Um, and just talk to Craig a little bit about that. I think we've got the list of folks from RCRA who would be involved in the job fair from the those being recruited side. Um, Carrie sent that out. We had a couple questions about the list, but it ended up that they already graduated from Grand Valley. So we talked to Scott and got them off. So that part's easy. The rest is just, I think, talking about how handshake would work. And so I think maybe I'll just let Craig kind of fill us in or show us a little bit or whatever works. By the way, everybody, sorry, I should have done this before, and we don't have a ton of time this morning, but this is Craig Beebe. Clearly, that's what his little name thing says there. He's the Director of Career Services.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all of Western. So we're grateful that he's willing to be involved with us. So with those introductions.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. And I will, let's maybe just try to do a quick walkthrough of at least what the registration process will look like for employers. I don't know of a good way to show you the actual fair interface in real time without putting together a whole like fair scenario and making up email addresses and all of that. But we can talk through that part. But so I'm gonna just share real quick. Okay, so you all can see this screen here that I'm highlighting?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is the ugly administrative side of Handshake. So this is not what people will see, but I created just a fake one. We could end up, this could end up being the real fair, but for now I just put this in here. It's invisible, but basically it's Handshake prepares automatically these what are called preview links. And the way we're going to set this event up, I think, from what I've talked with some of you all and Kevin and Louise about, is that we don't want this to be a general open to the public kind of an event at these schools. We want, I think, some Western students, but then primarily this other list of your students to be invited, and that's it. So we're going to set this event up as technically public, which all that does is it means that students can see it, but we're going to set it up so that students have to be invited in order to register for that event. And so even though students at other schools will be able to see the event, they won't be able to register without this student preview link. So this is going to become, and we can share this with you all if you all find that students didn't get an invitation for some reason and just need to share that link, you all could, or whoever can do that. But they're going to have this link and to access the event from this link right here. And then employers will be the same way. So we're going to make this event invisible to employers, but we can invite specific employers, or we could open it up. I mean, I'll leave some of that stuff to you all, but similarly, employers will have a link that we can share. So for now, just for demonstration, I'm going to grab this employer link and oops, I need to minimize this. And I'm going to change to an employer account. And then, so now we're going to access this event. Now that I'm logged in as an employer, this will be what employers will see. Now, right now it's totally empty because it's brand new and we haven't done anything with it yet. But these employers that we can invite, they'll come and register. I don't know if I heard that this was a final decision, but I believe that we are making this event free to employers. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but if that's the case, it makes a bunch of this even easier because we don't have to deal with payment processing. So an employer would just come in here and register. There'll be some information here. I didn't add any of it for now, but we could add about this event, and we could add some information. We can add some logos and a banner image, for example, with RCRA's logo or something, if you all want to do that. So we can personalize this page. And then they're going to register. And so they'll just register as an employer for $0 here. Add-ons would be things like, I'd like a vase of flowers at my table waiting for me. And like, we're not doing any of that stuff, I don't think, for this event, although we could, but we don't have any add-on items. This will all be stuff that we can edit. Right now, it's just pulling in a generic thing about Western that's too long. So I'm just gonna delete some of that. And then this would be, the schedule owner will be whoever's sort of in charge of that company's registration for the event. So they can pick, if they have 10 employees on their employer account, then they can just pick among their 10 employees about who is sort of owns that schedule. Of course, I'm here just because I am making this one, but I could add a bunch of other people. These are people from Western, so could change that if we wanted to. Most of your employers are probably not going to have divisions. Divisions are usually for big companies like IBM that has an AI division and a security computing division. So probably your employers won't have that. So most of this, you'll find they're not even filling out. There's really nothing for them to do here. If they have already posted their jobs on Handshake, then they'll want to select yes here, and then they can find their jobs here. Now, I'm going to highly recommend, and when we put together information for your employers, I'm going to highly recommend that even if they're brand new to Handshake, even if some of your employers have never made a Handshake account, I'm going to encourage them not only to make that account that's required to register for the event, but also to actually post their jobs in Handshake. They technically don't have to. They could click one of these other options if they want. But if they click yes and then link directly to job postings in Handshake, it's just going to make it that much easier for students to learn about their jobs before the event. So, but technically they can do any of these. If it's an employer that just wants to show up just for networking, basically as an info session, they can just say no, or like, I'm not hiring for a specific role, I guess would be the one they would choose. No would be like, well, we've got a job posted on Indeed, but we don't want to post it in Handshake, but we want to give you a link or whatever to an Indeed listing. And then I'm not hiring for a specific role right now. A couple of legal questions. Do they require work authorization? Will they sponsor a work visa? Do they hire on OPT type of programs? So those are just legal stuff that have to be answered. Let's see, and I have to answer them for the purposes of this registration too. So
Greg,
we're going to, oh yeah, please.
Can I interrupt? So in regards to what you just were talking about registering for Handshake, is that an additional fee? Do you have to pay as an employer? Can you post these? Because that'll be a concern of HR, because speaking not as RCRA, but as an potential employer going to this, they're very possessive about where we go and where we don't go. So I just want to make sure if you happen to know. If you don't, Handshake, I can always, of course, do that research.
Yeah, Handshake accounts are free.
Okay.
They do have like a premium that has some perks, but I actually tell all of our employers at Western not to pay for this.
Do that. Okay.
Just take the free account. That's unlimited job postings.
Okay.
And all of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any fees for the fair or for events, those are charged per event. So
right.
Yeah. And then down here, let's see, I need to finish filling some of these out. Down here, this is just for sort of categorizing, so students can sort of filter if they want for employers that are looking for certain things. So what kind of jobs, they can select one or all of these various options in here. Are they looking for only seniors because they're looking to hire people full time? Are you looking for sophomores and juniors because you want an intern? So you can select all of these options. You actually don't have to select any of these, but they're here if you want. Payment, of course, we're not going to have, so there's not even an option for a credit card payment. I removed that. So they will have to click this manual button, but it costs $0, so there's going to be no actual payment. And then we don't have a refund policy. Our refund policy, I'll probably lengthen this just to make sure it's really clear for employers, but there's no cost, so there's no refunds, but they will have to click on the refund policy. And then that's going to be it in terms of registering. If you add multiple staff members, those staff members will all be able to access this from their Handshake account once those are set up, if they need to. And I think, did I click this? Oh, I must not have clicked it. Okay, so now as an employer, it's just going to notify me that they've registered, but they still have to be approved by the school because Handshake is focused on universities. So we can talk about if we need more than me or Louise to look at these employers before approving. That might be a good discussion. You all can just let us know how you want to do that. But otherwise, we would have to go in and just approve all these employers as they register. And then the following thing is setting up a schedule. Let's do that. So to the initial registration, we're done with that. We're leaving here, and I should have in my email now, or I will soon, I guess. I don't have it just yet, but I will have an email that reminds me, it says, hey, you need to set up a schedule because we've created a registration, but now the event is happening between such and such hours on January 26th. And we're gonna have to actually set up a schedule as an employer. And that schedule will be a combination of, sorry, I'm gonna wait and see if that email comes here. And basically employers are gonna have to just decide, so between whatever hours we decide this thing is happening, for when do we wanna have one-on-one appointment blocks, which are basically 10-minute blocks that an employer can just say, so from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. or to 2 p.m., we're doing, oh, that's not it. We're doing one-on-one blocks just to meet with students individually and answer questions and that kind of thing. Or you can set up 30-minute group sessions, which can have up to 50 students in them. And so the employer can just put on more like an info session or like a Q&A. There's video and chat features, kind of, I mean, not so dissimilar from a GoToMeeting or like a Zoom webinar that you've probably been on, where people can stay silent if they want and just watch, but then they can type questions or comments in the chat box. They can do all of that from there. From the student perspective, it's kind of basically the same. I mean, the registration is simpler for students, of course, but students will register. They will get a similar notification saying, hey, go schedule yourself, go find employers you want to meet with and schedule them for this event, or schedule yourself, put yourself on their schedules for this event. And then a student can go in and do the same thing. Say at 11:10 a.m., I want to meet with REI, and I'm going to get 10 minutes to talk to a recruiter from REI, for example, or I just want to go to their info session at 2 o'clock, something like that. So on the day of the event, then, so an employer, let me back up. An employer, once they're registered and once they've created their schedule, they're pretty much done. The employer then doesn't really have to touch this again until the day of the event if they don't want to. Then on the day of the event, they're going to come back over here to the career fairs. They're going to, so in this case, I'm just clicking this filter for show registered only. This is the only one that I've registered. I haven't got that email because it's pending. I have to approve it. And that, of course, makes sense. This is the challenge of playing both roles at the same time. So when I come back here into my staff account, we can see there's a pending registration over here. And it's going to be, it should be Western is the pending registration. So, oops. So let's add registration. Oh, where's my notification? View employers. Oh, I know why, because this slider bar. It's like, why don't I see the approve button? Okay, so that's approved. Now it should kick off an email to me. I'm going to come back to the employer account. And anyway, then I would have to go in and decide where I'm going to set that schedule up. So now we can see that Western is now the only registered employer at this event. There's a few more details we can open up down here. And then schedule, we need to add these sessions here. And then, and there will be an email that reminds an employer that they need to come back in and do this. So what this is now going to ask me is there's a few steps here. Who's attending? So if I have multiple staff members, again, I can plug them in here. I know that Louise is in here. So I'll add her real quick and add team member. So are we planning to have group sessions? So yes or no. If you don't want one, you just say no. Yep, I do want to have it. Great, it'll give me that option. Are you using Handshake video or another tool? If you use the Handshake video, of course, it'll all happen in Handshake. You never have to leave the Handshake platform. An employer can use Zoom or some other platform if they want. And if they do that, it's going to ask them to include a URL for wherever students are going to go. And so when a student shows up for that event, instead of opening up right in Handshake, they'll just have to go to an external platform. And it seems like from feedback I've heard from other schools is that that works great sometimes. It doesn't work great other times. It kind of depends a little bit on the tech savviness of the company and a little bit on the tech savviness of the students, because students have to know that if they go to a group session, an info session outside of Handshake, if they need to get back for another session in Handshake, that they actually have to go back into Handshake. That that obviously they're not going to keep doing other sessions in Zoom or whatever. And then we can just add details. So group session details. Do you want, like, what do you want to name it? If you want to describe it, like, hey, our head of HR is going to be here to talk to you to introduce our hiring policies or internship opportunities for the year, or whatever it is. And then I set this fair up as being from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, that is changeable, but just for these purposes, I just set it up this way. And then we would just pick, when do we want a group session? So I want a group session right away at 11 to 11:30. And hey, actually, I want to do a couple of group sessions. I want to do another one at 2:30 p.m. And so we would have to add some information here, which I won't just for time purposes, but this would be, that's all it takes to really set up the group sessions. And then it'll do the same thing for one-on-one sessions, except that one-on-one sessions are just 10 minutes long. You can assign specific staff members to specific sessions later on in this process. So if people want to do that. So that's kind of how it goes. And this is the general aesthetic. I mean, it's pretty, Handshake is built to be, I think, fairly minimalist, especially from the student and employer end. Like there aren't a lot of links or a lot of things to look at. It's pretty plain fonts and everything like that. So, so when a student shows up, this is just going to basically go full screen, and just like Zoom or whatever, we'll have a chat box over here on the side and the people talking in the middle, and that's it. So I know that there's a time crunch. What do we need to talk about, or any questions about that?
So the time limitation that you set for a group is basically determined by what you put in. There's no Handshake thing that it only lasts a half hour. So if you for some reason wanted to have it open for longer, you could. And then I assume maybe you could always go in the background if for some reason you're really engaged with someone to expand upon that if you needed to. So
Handshake actually is, this is a pretty new platform. And right now, some of these things are written in the code by Handshake. So group sessions are 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, 30 minutes on the schedule. Now, if an employer had a Zoom account and wanted to do something on Zoom, there's no reason they couldn't do that necessarily. They just have to keep in mind that affects student schedules in terms of getting to see other employers and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then those one-on-one sessions are only 10 minutes. So they're not like, you can't make them like 30-minute interviews.
No, that's good. Yeah. And then you said it has similar capabilities as Zoom. So it has like screen share and things like that are available so that you can easily navigate through that for like a presentation or here's my property and things like that. So,
so screen share is a great question. Instead of giving you an answer, I'm going to confirm anything before I tell you one way or the other. Yeah. But I will make a note of that to get an answer on that.
Okay. And then actually, sorry. Keep going.
There are help articles that I'm sure the answer
we can read it. Yeah.
On a website, but I just need to go find it.
And all my other thoughts through this are RCRA related to the board about how we're going to manage this with properties, because if you have a bunch of properties scheduling at the exact same time, is that the right message that we want to have for the students? Is the ability for them to go in and out easily, or once they're in, they have to stay until the time runs out, things like that. Because I'm wondering how heavy-handed we're going to have to be with controlling the schedule and things like that. So
that's a good question.
I feel like we're going to have a lot of guidance about like what Craig said about, please don't click on external video platform. Please use the handshake video session. Please note this, you can do X. Like we're going to have to write all of that out, which is fine. It's just an SOP that we have to really, I was like putting in my head as he was describing everything. But yeah.
And wouldn't we need to control who can come and who can't? Because some people have paid the $99 to come to all 3 sessions, but some people only paid the $89 to only come to the first 2 for the first 2 days thing that we did. So wouldn't we have to control who can come and who can't come?
So we're definitely going to need to know, we're going to need to know ahead of time and communicate that list to Craig or whoever is managing the administrative side about these are approved people, students, approved employers, things like that. And then, with the other thing that you mentioned, we're going to have to talk about as a board too, about how we're going to manage if it's going to be a donation or something else, because that was the Michelle's catch the last time that we talked about the fact that payment was taken, and we're not going to have them pay on this platform, but there's something else that we should probably be doing to thank Western for all of this, in addition to the 10 students. So.
And Craig, I have a question. What is the best way, like when you think of a job fair, right? Our students would walk around table to table and basically give the employer their resume. So what is the best way for the employers to capture all of those resumes using the platform of Handshake and have them ready when they have the interview?
Yeah, so we'll provide some of this stuff. Also, Louise and I will put together, recommendations for students and for employers, general recommendations. One of them for students is make sure before you register or right after you register that your Handshake profile, because Handshake students have profiles kind of like LinkedIn, and they can upload documents, cover letters, resumes, things like this. And employers, as long as, so the students are required, this might be getting a little bit into the weeds, but to participate in a fair like this, a student has to turn their profile public, which means that employers can view their profile. So as students are registering for events, an employer can pull all of their resumes. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if an employer has 10 students on their list, that they can pull all those at one time with one button.
Nice.
Again, it's all pretty new and it's developing pretty actively right now, so I'll have to make sure that's true. But and then also employers can go look for students, like any student in the universe with a public profile. An employer can go and say, I'm looking for students that are seniors with a 3.0 or better GPA that are studying recreation or outdoor education, and it'll show them all the thousands of students on Handshake. Now they can filter by specific schools. They can I mean, so employers have quite a bit of ability to find all that information, and they can
Awesome.
download and print resumes or keep them as PDFs on their computer, however they want to do it. Yeah.
So
Prepared by the time.
I had a question. So my resort actually uses Handshake. I actually didn't know it, but when I went in it, we had an account. So I started kind of poking around, but a lot of the schools that are members of RCRA, I didn't see their schools listed as being participants on Handshake. So are their students going to be okay to be able to use this platform even though the schools aren't on there?
Yeah, so this was the big question I had before I was comfortable committing to helping with this, was just literally, can these students access the fair? So what's going to happen is one of two things. If their school is in the event, we have to get those students in without inviting every other student from their school, right? So that's where we use that link, that invite link, and the student's still going to have to log in just like normal, but as long as they have this link, I am told by Handshake that they can access the fair. If their school doesn't have Handshake, then Handshake created probably, I don't know, a year ago now, what they call the open network, which is that any student at a school not on Handshake can still make their own personal Handshake account, as long as they have an EDU email address. So those students, all they'll have to do, and we'll write these instructions up for them and provide those. All those students will have to do is create an open network account, which again is free for students. They will have to do a little bit of extra work because they won't have their profiles filled out yet. So they'll want to put in a little bit of time to just update their profile and upload a resume. But otherwise, yeah, they will be able to access the fair just like that. So they will need a Handshake account, but it just won't be through their university. It'll be just a personal account on their own.
And then is there a charge that they're charging for this fair? Because it didn't look like to have fairs was free on Handshake.
No, usually we charge just because it takes time to plan them. We are not charging for this one. So students are never charged. There's never a cost for students. Employers usually would pay the fee, and that,
Right.
like Western, we usually charge between 25 and $50. Bigger schools charge 400, 500, 600.
Does Handshake charge for it?
Handshake does not this year.
Not this year.
This platform, because of COVID, they launched this career fair platform for free to all their member.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very nice. Part of it is because we get to be all their guinea pigs, right? And give them all the feedback. So they might charge for the platform next year, and if they do, then we'll have to see if that's worth it. But that's the reason we can afford to offer to do this partnership for free this year, is because they're not charging us for the platform. Yeah. And then we are paying for Handshake. Let me clarify. We pay for Handshake. We're not paying for the career fair module.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For Handshake, it doesn't have any ability to have a general session, does it?
Like a plenary kind of a thing,
everybody can be in the same room and we have
it's all per employer. Yeah. Okay. So if you wanted to do something separately for everybody at once, it would probably have to be like just on Zoom or something and scheduled separately outside the fair. Yeah.
But as a workaround, if we wanted just to get all the students together prior, we could set up a session. They would just all have to register for that.
Correct.
Session, and we could
In fact, what I'll probably do for Western is set up an account and register Western as an employer, but just put in our notes that we're only here to offer assistance, and like we'll schedule sessions, like group sessions, but those will just be drop-in like help sessions probably. So we're not looking to hire, I don't think, but we'll do something like that. Yeah, just to be there to assist people. Yeah.
Very cool.
Is there a possibility of doing a dummy event ahead of it where we can kind of get in there, faux register properties and look around to see the capabilities and have a faux fair before we had our real fair, kind of like a practice beforehand to see what it can do and what it can't do? So totally. We can prepare the employers properly.
Yeah, we can. We can actually set that up in the the fair that I was just showing you all. I mean, we could just use that. I mean, change the times, obviously, but no, we could set that up. I mean, we would have to do it in sort of a defined period of time is all, just like a real fair. We can't leave it open like more than a day at a time. So as long as everybody were on board to do that testing at the same time, yeah, we could totally schedule that and do a dry run.
I
That would
think
be
that
great.
I was gonna say, I think our success that we had with our programming that we did for our 2-day virtual connection series is a lot to do with us practicing and making sure we were familiar with the capabilities and preparing our employers plus the session presenters that they knew what they could do, what they can't do, and those kind of capabilities. And we were prepared also of what we wanted to do, how it was going to work best. So if we could get in there, look around and make sure that we know what can be done and then let the employers know what can be done so they feel more comfortable on the platform too.
Totally. Yeah, that'd be great. I would say let Kevin and Louise and me just let us know when's good for you and we'll make it work. The trickiest part of all of it would be if we wanted also to have students, whether those are real or fake students, to get on the other end of it, because it's one thing to get in there as an employer and sort of walk through the registration and to see all that, but to really get into the video conferencing features, we would have to have students on the other end who are actually logged in and showing for events. I can create fake student accounts for anybody in Handshake.
I'm sure we can ask McKenna if she can help. I think Katie might still have an active EDU too. So I'm sure that there's a couple people on our committees that we might be able to drag in to help for students and make sure we know all around how to do it.
I can play my true role as a dummy and have a dummy account. I've got to go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, thanks so much for organizing
Thank
this.
Of course. Thanks, Craig. Thanks everybody for being here. If you've got other questions, let me know and I can filter those to Craig and Louise, and we can we'll work on, we can talk as a board about the other things and then talk about timing for a dry run, maybe in early January or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah. That sounds great.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kev.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Craig.
See ya.